Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Instagram Live. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we're going to talk about international relationships. And I want to say that I'm going to talk to some people, and they are coming from different cultures and nationalities. Because when we talk about the subject of international relationships, I would like to hear their perspective. So I'm going to have Asians, I'm going to have an American, and of course, I'm going to have somebody from Ghana. And we're going to discuss international relationships. You know, most of the time it's not common to see people cross lines and marry people from other nationalities, even if they are Christians. I believe that most of the time it comes from maybe ignorance and fear. One thing that ignorance does is that it breeds fear. Anything you don't know much about, you'll be afraid of it. So today we want to have a discussion and we want to dispel the myths. And also we want to start a global conversation and we're going to find out what it is. So today I've got friends who are joining me. I've got Dr. May. Dr. May is a lecturer professor at the university. She's Chinese. I've known her for years, a lovely woman. And we're going to have this chat.
Thank you.
Then, of course, we're also going to have Sheila. Sheila is also Chinese. She's Asian. And she's also going to bring her perspective. Then, apart from Sheila, we also have Sarah. Sarah is an American. And she's also going to give her perspective about international relationships. But for Sarah, I think that she actually lives the discussion in the sense that her husband is actually a Ghanaian. So she actually lives that life. So I believe that what she's going to say is going to be very practical and she will give us valuable insights. Then we have Samuel. Samuel is a gentleman from Ghana. So the two gentlemen are myself and Danny and Samuel. And the three ladies are Dr. May, who is from China, Sheila, who's from China, and Sarah, who's from America. And we're going to talk about international relationships. You know, sometimes when I think of myself, I ask myself, would it have been possible for me to marry somebody from another country? You know, honestly, it never crossed my mind that I should even marry somebody from another culture, another country. That thought even never came into my mind. Why it never came into my mind, I don't know. But I believe that probably because also I don't know. That's why. So it's going to be a very wonderful conversation. And I want you to invite a friend of yours. So I want you to just share this page. And I want you to send a link to somebody as we have this global conversation from, of course, a Christian perspective about international relationships. And I believe that you are going to be blessed. And fortunately, by the grace of God, we have an international panel. And I believe that this panel will speak to us. So I'm just giving these brief introductions for people to join up. And I'm also expecting you to invite somebody and let a person join us in this conversation. Before we start, I just want to start with introductions. So I'm going to ask May, my good friend, Dr. May. She's a professor in the university in China, just to introduce herself so that you get to know her. So May, just a few words about yourself before we start.
Hello, I'm from China. I'm a university teacher. Thank you. Very glad to be here. Thank you for your invitation.
Wonderful. I think I just received a correction. Sarah is from America. She's not married. Sarah is not married. I just received a correction. And she's also single. And as for May, I know that May is married. I know May's husband, friend of mine, Daniel. We've had wonderful times in China. Eating, they've given me Chinese food. We've climbed some mountains. We've drank Chinese tea. We've interacted. And they've also even come to visit me in Ghana before. And I really cherish their friendship and their love. Their love. And, you know, because of them, when I think about China, I just think about good people. They've been real good ambassadors of the country. May God bless you so much for your friendship, your love, your care, your concern, and also for being an inspiration spiritually. The next person I want to introduce is Sheila.
The honor is mine.
Sheila is also from China, and I want Sheila also to just give a few brief comments and introduce herself a bit. Sheila is from America, Sheila is from America. And I want Sheila to just introduce herself a bit. So Sheila is from America, Sheila, just give us a few words.
Thank you so much, sir. Hi, everybody. My name is Sheila Whitcomb. I am a worship pastor at Agape House Church in Accra, Ghana. I'm an American by original culture, but I grew up here in Accra, so have a little bit of Ghanaian in me as well. So it's great to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
Oh, Sheila, wonderful. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining our global conversation. The next person I'd like to introduce is Sarah. Sarah is from China as well. Sarah is unmarried. She's single. And I invited her so that she also gives us another perspective. We'd like to hear from her. So Sarah, can you please introduce yourself briefly? Okay. Yes.
I'm sorry.
No problem, Sarah.
Hello, I am
Hi.
Sarah. I'm from Changsha, Hunan, and I'm also
China.
China. I'm also a university teacher, teaching English, teaching international cross-cultural communication in one of the universities in China, Hunan Changsha. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you, Sheila. You know, Dr. May told me that some time back when I was in China, you were there as well, Sheila. And she says, you know, Sheila knows you because when you came to China, she was there. Hey, sorry. Sarah knows you because when you came to China, she was there. And I said, wow, that's interesting. So thank you so much for responding to our invitation. So now let me start. You know, I recently I had a friend come and visit me. This guy is a German, and he came to visit me. And he's in a relationship with this girl from Ghana, and they are planning to get married. Then I asked him a question. My question was, before you met this lady who is Ghanaian, had you ever met any Ghanaian or African before? And he said to me, I'd seen Africans before, I'd seen Ghanaians or whatever, but I'd never had a black friend before. He said, this girl was my first black friend. So I asked him a question. How come you never had any black friend all your life? And he said to me, it wasn't intentional. I just didn't come across any black friends. They were not in my circles. I didn't know anybody like that. I didn't have friends who had black friends. So I just grew up in a pure German setting. So then I asked him, so how did you meet this girl that you're in a relationship with, your fiance? And he said to me, one day I went to town and I saw her and she looked confused because she was new in Germany. She didn't know her left from her right and she couldn't speak the language well. So I offered to help her. Then he said to me, through that we started talking. And when we started talking, I realized that we shared a lot of common things, interests, and so many things together. So he said to me, we started to connect. So when we started connecting, then we became friends. Then we entered into a relationship. And now we are thinking of getting married. When he said that, it struck me. And what struck me was that all his life, he'd never come across anyone like that before. But when he met somebody from Ghana, a black person, he realized that although he was German, he could connect to a black person from Ghana. And they shared common interests and they like each other's company and they're excited and he felt that, look, I want to get married to this girl. So when he told me the story, I realized that then what it meant was that what was really keeping this gentleman apart and this girl apart from this gentleman was just plain ignorance. They didn't know each other. They didn't know each other's cultures. They didn't understand each other. And like I said, whatever we don't understand, we are afraid of. So today in this conversation, I want us to clear some myths. Maybe there may be some myths, some misconceptions, some preconceptions. And I believe that it will help us and those who are watching and listening to be able to develop relationships beyond their own narrow, whatever circumstance or circle of friends, and get to know other people, connect to them. And maybe when they see somebody else who's not from their culture, because of what they're going to learn today is going to change their mindset, is going to change the way they see things and make them more open-minded. And who knows, maybe we may have somebody from China getting married to somebody from Ghana because of today's conversation. You know, last Sunday, a lady walked to me and told me that she's married. And I said, how did you get married? And she said to me, I got married because you had an online discussion about online dating. And she said to me, during that discussion about online dating, she said other people participated. And she said to me, later on, I met somebody who was also on the same program. She said to me, we connected. We started online dating. She said we met each other and now we're married. I said, wow, fantastic. So today I believe that as we have this discussion, like I said, barriers will be broken down, and then we'll be able to connect to each other better from different continents, different nations. And I want to say that this is a Christian discussion. Everybody here is a Christian. So basically we'll be using Christian principles as well to have this discussion. So once again, I would like to just thank my panelists for joining me. And like this introductory remarks are also, I'm just buying time for you to just invite somebody, send a message to somebody as we listen and as we learn from each other. So I'd like to start from Sheila. Let me start from Sheila. You know, Sheila, I want to ask you a question. When I was studying architecture, I remember there was a gentleman who was about 2 years behind me. And this gentleman who was 2 years behind me married an American woman, a white American. And anytime I saw them on campus moving around, because this white American woman came on some kind of exchange program and met this gentleman who was on our campus, and somehow they fell in love and they got married. But anytime I saw them, you know, I used to wonder, do they really understand each other? Do they connect? Since they don't have the same background. I mean, how is it like? I used to wonder. Now today, I believe that I'm talking to somebody who's American, of course, and is white as well. Now the question I would like to ask, I would like you to just tell me a little bit about how does it feel? Is it apprehensive for somebody who is a white American to think about, let's say, marrying an African? I must be honest with you. For me, if I were to think of something like that, I would be apprehensive. And I'm sure my apprehension is born out of more than what I don't know, than what I know. Naturally speaking, I'll be apprehensive. I'll be worried. We will have the same interests. We will have the same whatever. And let me tell you something which has always been on my mind, and which I know is not typically true, but I would like to hear your thoughts on that, which is, you know, sometimes when I think about, let's say, divorce rates in Western countries, I tend to think that, well, maybe if I were to marry a white American, I will end up getting divorced. I don't know whether that's true, but it just kind of entered my mind when I was young, that I will end up getting divorced. And the reason why I felt I will end up getting divorced was that I felt that the relationship maybe will be based on more of emotional connection. And if that emotional connection was lost, the relationship will break. Because typically in Ghana or in Africa, when people are getting married, it's a whole family thing. It's like two families who are getting married. So assuming even you don't have any emotional connection, you still continue with the marriage because it's something you have decided to do. It's a principle, and you just follow the principle more than the emotion. And I had a friend who was married to somebody from Switzerland. And he told me that one day he woke up, he had been married to his wife for about 6-7 years. And the wife said, I'm bored, so I'm leaving the marriage. Then he said to his wife, why are you bored? He said, I'm just bored, so I want to leave. He said, you have not done anything to me. You've not even offended me. There's nothing wrong, but I'm bored. I've lost that emotional spark, so I'm going. I don't know whether it's the story that the guy told me, but that story somehow made me think that, well, maybe that's how it is. That when you meet somebody from America or Europe or something, as soon as they don't feel any strong emotional connection, they will leave. Today, I've asked you my silent question. I know that it's wrong. I know that it can be true for everybody, but I want to hear what you have to say about what I just said.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a loaded question, but I think that Americans value feelings and they value emotional connection over certain other responsibilities when we're talking about relationships and things like that. So to kind of answer your first question, I don't believe, let's say if we're taking an American that has never traveled outside of America and is not exposed to other cultures, I think someone that would rather be quite excited and maybe even more ready to kind of give that a try to marry someone from another culture or from another country. Americans are very independent. We like adventure. We believe we can do a lot of things. And I think sometimes in that side of who we are, we can overestimate our understanding of the world. And so I would say a lot of people who have maybe that attitude would have the danger of overestimating their ability to understand how the world is very different than maybe one country or one perspective. So I think that is a very valid point. And I think that it's very true that it may actually be more of a concern for the family members or for people looking from the outside in than for an actual American themselves to feel like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this. But in not considering or not being able to have that appropriate self-reflection of what you can actually understand or what you actually know about the world, you can make a lot of mistakes or errors. And like you said, the model that we're seeing more and more in the US and in the West as a whole is that it is okay to go in with the option of getting out. And so I think that makes it easier for people to try, rather than to commit.
Yeah.
And also it's not wrong. I wouldn't blame someone for having that fear, because that is what we're seeing, the model of you can get out if it doesn't work. Even within the church, even within Christianity, we're seeing that's an option. So that's kind of how I would answer that question.
Wow. Anyway, so thank you so much. I mean, I know that, of course, it's not typical about every single American, but I asked that question because of what my friend told me. Mm-hmm. And when he said that, I said, wow, is that how it is? And so, he became very devastated. And up to now, he's not married. Mm-hmm. Up to now, many years have passed, and he's still not married. I think that experience shook him. So let me ask you a question. So assuming I am married to an American, or I want to marry an American, how do I keep on connecting so that I don't lose that person?
Connecting to an American. Well,
yeah,
I mean,
because like you said, maybe the value, the value that's placed on the emotions may be very high. So somebody may be listening and say, okay, fine, me, I'm still bored, I still want to marry an American. And of course, like I said, it's not for every American, because I know, for example, you may be different. So we can stereotype things. But assuming I met somebody and I felt that, look, maybe if I lose the person a little bit emotionally, this relationship will break. What will I have to do to keep the emotions going till Jesus comes?
Well, I think that one thing, like I said earlier, a lot of Americans value independence and adventure. Like, in a lot of cultures, people value security. So long as I have security economically or financially, or maybe in a certain way, then I feel safe, I feel loved. Americans are not necessarily like that. They wouldn't view marriage as, oh, I'm secured economically, I'm secured in this way. They value the emotional connection. Like we said, they value the adventure, the goal of the relationship. And definitely as Americans, we are very expressive. We kind of say what we think. We value being able to express our feelings. It's something that about. So giving the space and the attention for, feelings to be expressed and to be, within reason, because we have to be careful, but giving that space for someone to actually express how they're feeling and moving along from there without it being an issue would definitely be important in keeping a connection with an American, especially a woman.
I think you made a very important point. I have a niece who is married to a white English guy. My sister's daughter married to an English guy, and they're both doctors. And I asked my niece that, what's the difference between an African home and a British home? What's the difference? Can you tell me? And he said something which I think was revelatory to me. And he said to me, Black people are indoor people and white people are outdoor people. And he said to me, for us, once we are indoors, our cousins have come, we've eaten, we've had a conversation, we are happy. But he said to me, for my husband, life is outdoors. We have to go maybe walking, we have to climb a mountain, we have to go on an adventure, we have to do that. And he said to me, that's the basic difference. So she said to me, if you can be an outdoor person, or you're an outdoor person naturally, then it's going to be easy. But if you're not an outdoor person, then you have to learn to be an outdoor person. And the other person also has to learn a little bit to be an indoor person. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, if you can do both, then it will work. And she's been married for several years. And I'll tell you a story. I have a classmate of mine, and he married a woman from Belgium, but he's divorced. And I asked him a question. I said, why did you get divorced from your wife? And he said to me, my wife always wants us to go to the beach, go to the parks, walk around, lie on the beach, do sun tanning and all those things. And he said to me, at the beginning, when we started the relationship, it was exciting. I loved it. We'll go to the beach, we'll lie down, we'll go for holidays all the time. And like you said, you hit the nail right on the head, security. I think that as Black people, or Ghanaians, I'll say, I think our inclination is more towards security. I never thought about that before, but I think you've summarized it. But I think that probably we tend to go for more security because of our background. Because economically, people have come from deprived backgrounds. So it's more like, let's try and secure ourselves so we don't go back to that background. That's the natural inclination. So I think I get that point that you made is a very important point. And so back to my friend. So my friend told me one day he was on the beach and they were doing sun tanning on the beach. And he said to himself, look, I'm a black guy. I've been in the sun all my life. What am I doing here on this beach? And he said, now, each time he went to the beach, went to lie on the beach, he would be very angry because the sun was nothing to him. He was black already. He didn't want to tan. So he got tired of the outdoor activity. So he decided that. So one day, his wife told him that, look, let's separate for a while and let's think of ourselves. And he said when they separated, then he realized that he had peace. So he decided not to go back again. So like you said, I think adventure, going out, whatever, seems to be a very strong point. And that's exactly why we are having this conversation. Because I think that it brings home our values, that we may have different values and we have to respect each other's values because we come from different backgrounds. And once we can respect it and interact with each other, I think we can work together. Once we are both the children of God, and the Bible also brings us to a common platform. So I think that's a very major, at least for me, it's like a light has gone off in my mind. And I think others are also learning. So let me ask Dr. May, my friend. Dr. May from China, welcome. You've heard my conversation.
Yes.
May, I want to ask you a question. Why are you not married to a black guy? Tell me.
How do I imagine about a black person?
Yes, why are you not married to a black person? Tell me.
My image. Well, I think I'm changing. I previously, when I think about the blacks, like general Chinese assume that blacks strange people. Maybe they are lazy. Maybe they are very fond of fighting. And
so if you marry them, they're going to beat you because they like fighting. They are violent.
Yeah, very violent. Because we heard such stories in Guangzhou, other places.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand.
Many blacks cause a lot of violence in China. But it's true. There's such stories in here at first. Yeah.
It's true. I understand you.
But after I met a few friends like you guys, I began to change. I see that they are, as a matter of fact, very hardworking. Even workaholic. Oh, I said, wow. And they are very polite. My friend, Benjamin, the one who I met, he's very prayerful and he's very patient and very responsible, good-mannered. So really, it was a cultural shock to me. Yes.
I see.
But my first experience with a black was my wushu student. I was a martial arts teacher, so I trained people for fighting martial arts. Wow. And this man was very tall. And
what belt did you have?
Yeah, but he was, each time when he came, he bows. He learned the Chinese customs, bow to the teacher. And when I asked him to do something, he always came ahead of time. And I thought that, since I'm a Chinese, we like stability. We don't want me too adventurous. I think I can trust him. So I can teach him and accept him as my student. Later on, I began to become more open-minded towards blacks. And right now I have more and more black friends like Andrew, Danny. I love them. Thank you.
I think that's a very, very interesting perspective. Like I said, sometimes we see people monolithically. We don't see them as individuals. So we kind of, the brain just tends to classify people together. Everybody's like that. But we have individuals on our own. And depending on who you meet, then you meet a totally whole new, unique personality. So, for example, when I met you as, I thought, for example, I thought that Chinese people were very unfriendly people, very unfriendly and very wicked. That's what I thought. They're very wicked and unfriendly. That's what I thought, you know? And, but, you know, when I got to know you and your husband and your daughter and all the lovely people who are around you and the times that we fellowship in China and everything, I learned one thing. One thing I learned was that Chinese culture seems to be very close to African culture. One way that it's as close as I could see the closest was in its communal structure. For example, I mean, like we go to a restaurant and, you know, there's a big bowl and sometimes we are sharing the food together and sometimes you are eating by yourself. Sometimes we are also eating from the same plate. You know, we had those kind of meals and fellowship. And I realized that in that setting, really, I thought I was back in Ghana, really. And it was like I was with Ghanaians who just had white skin. That's how I felt. And so it really changed my mindset. And I said, I mean, I didn't know that Chinese people were so communal, so loving, not wicked. And, you know, the kind of love that you showed us and the respect and the affection and we just connected like that. I mean, talking, laughing, and I could tell that we shared so many things in common. So we can sit down. I mean, I've sat down with you. We've talked for hours about so many things. Yeah. So I must say that it really changed my perception greatly. Greatly. So I know there's somebody listening, watching, who may have his own perceptions, but as we are talking, the person also getting to understand that really, maybe I got it all wrong. Maybe my preconceptions and my fears were not justified. So I believe you cannot judge somebody until you've met the person, and that's very important. Anyway, so let me go to Samuel. Samuel, are you there?
Yes, Prophet. Yeah.
Samuel.
Yes,
Will you consider marrying a Chinese girl or an American girl? Will you consider that one? Is it possible? You are not married. Is it possible? I mean, has it ever occurred to you before?
No, please, Prophet. It hasn't ever occurred to me.
Why? You know, China, they are more than 1 billion. So if you go there, even your range is even bigger.
Wow. Fortunately for me, Prophet, in my primary school, I went to a school that had mixed race. So we had Chinese in there and I mean, I have a lot of friends that are Chinese and stuff, but I can't seem to tell why I've never, I mean, we connect in many other ways, like.
Yeah, so, you know, the aim of the question is to find out what are the barriers that are actually separating us.
Well, okay. So, for me personally,
yeah,
maybe one of the reasons why it hasn't ever crossed my mind is because I don't think I can do a long distance relationship because I've never been good with texts, calls, even if the person is here in Ghana. Mine is I would always love to.
You know, Samuel, I
Yeah.
assume that the Chinese person is here with you in Ghana. So there's nothing like, or the American person is here with you in Ghana. So there is nothing like a long distance. The person is present here.
Okay. Well, Prophet, for me, I don't know, but I think if a person is here, there could be a possibility because
no,
one of my
you're not getting my question right. My question is, why has it not occurred to you?
Okay. That's a hard one. Okay, Prophet, I think it hasn't occurred to me. I think one of the main reasons why it hasn't occurred to me at all is because I've always pictured myself with Ghanaian girls. I mean, even in my dreams, every girl I've ever dreamt of, I always picture myself married in the future with my Ghanaian wife, and I mean, having fun and all of that. So I've never really, I mean, I'm not even limiting it to just a Chinese woman, but be it an American or, I mean, an Indian or whoever. I think that's one of the main reasons. I think in my mind, I just seem to love and appreciate Ghanaian women. Yeah, probably. And second thing, too, another thing too could possibly be, I think their food. Back in school, I had friends who used to pack lunch. Their parents used to pack lunch for them, and a few times I tried their food, and honestly, I couldn't. I couldn't at all. So thinking about that now, I'm like, hey, if I'm with this person, obviously, she will definitely want to make me try her food all the time. She can't always be, I mean, preparing food for my culture and all of that. And I just may not be able to appreciate her food in the way she wants me to appreciate. And maybe that could bring about some kind of contention or something. So I think basically that's it.
Well, Samuel, thank you so much for your thoughts. Now I think I will go to Sarah. Sarah's not spoken. Sarah, you've had the conversation, and I'd like to ask you a question.
Okay.
Is it possible for Sarah to marry, let's say, an American or somebody who is not Chinese or a black person? Is it possible?
As for me, American or a black person.
Yeah.
A black guy. Okay.
Yeah.
I think to have a good relationship with the other partner, if the person has good character, he's very gentle, very responsible for the family, and is very patient. If he has this kind of good characters, and and we both of us have the same belief. I think this is very important. I think I can accept the foreigners as my husband. Yeah,
I see. I see.
So I say it's most important. Yeah.
I think that's path, of course. I mean, some people are very open-minded. I mean, God created them that way. There are some people too who are close-minded. But most people, I would say, are close-minded. The reason is that we always want to be within our comfort zone. And anytime we go outside our comfort zone, we feel uncomfortable because we are dealing with things that we've never dealt with before, and we don't know how to respond to it. We don't know what to do. So most of the time, we want to be within our comfort zone. And I think that's one of the reasons why that keeps us within our cultures and our countries and our nationalities and things like that. So I think that you have quite an open mind, and for you, it's character and it's interest. Once the character and interest are aligned, you really don't mind. I mean, that's your perspective. I think that's wonderful. I think I would like to say to those who are watching, if you have a question that you would like to ask, just write your question, and maybe like to ask our panelists a question. Just write your question, and I will read it out. So just write your question, and I will select your question. I'll read it out, and we will answer the question. So let me go back to Sheila. Sheila, are you there?
Yes,
hello,
I'm
Sheila.
here.
Yeah, Sheila. Now, the next question I would like to ask you is that, assuming you were supposed to, you were inclined to marrying a Ghanaian, what kind of qualities will you appreciate or value? What kind of qualities will you like? From your perspective, that you will say,
Right.
these things are important to me.
Right.
You understand me? Yeah. What will be the values or the qualities that you, who's an American but you live in Ghana, what are the qualities that will be that you hold dear? That I must, if I could find these qualities in somebody who is a Ghanaian, I will consider it. What are the qualities?
Definitely. I think definitely the first one would be, someone that has an open mind. And I don't think that you necessarily have had to travel very far or very extensively to have an open mind.
Yeah.
I know people traveled little, but they have much more of an open mind than people that have traveled far. So just that openness to appreciate that not everyone is the same, not every culture is the same, and even beyond nationality, even beyond where you're from, if you're from America or Germany or Cameroon, understanding that even within culture, there are family cultures. So being able to have that open within the American culture, there's a culture that my family has, there's a culture that your family has. And having that foundational ability to reason that out, think that, be willing to get to know what that would look like in a very practical way, and can think through that process without it being something completely foreign. So that would definitely be something that I think would be very key for me in marrying. If I was to marry a Ghanaian or any culture, they would need to have that ability and that thought process.
So can you give me some practical examples of what you mean by an open mind? Practical real life examples, so that whoever is watching, listening can relate to it. I understand the concept of open mind, but now I need real life examples. Maybe one or two. What you mean by an open mind?
Sure. So I think an open mind can mean understanding different systems and structures. So obviously, when we're in one culture, we understand that there's a system and a way, a custom of doing things. And I think an open mind can recognize that is not the only way something can be done.
Exactly.
That other ways that it can be done, and those ways could either be better or they could be worse. So it's not just recognizing that, my culture is better because my system is better, but recognizing it could actually be worse than your culture, and how are you going to handle that discrepancy of your culture being better at this and me being worse in my culture. So I think first of all, that would just be a very practical. So understanding that there's differences in systems of how things are done. And then I think maybe another practical way would just be in understanding the social climate of other places, understanding that certain things can be acceptable, certain things that you think are very right or wrong, very wrong or right in another culture, and kind of having that open mind to realize that, not everything is through the lenses that you've seen it as, but understanding that, it can be very different, and being willing to accept or reject those things depending on how you process it, but still having that understanding. So I think those are two practical things that I can think of.
I understand you. Okay, let me tell you something. For example, sometimes I know that in many Western societies, for example, since we said it's an outdoor life, people like going out, eating out, all those things. Will you say that when you say open mind, things like eating out all the time, is it in terms of food? Is it part of what you call open mind, even when it comes to food?
Definitely. So understanding, like, let's take, for example, understanding that American culture, a woman is not really expected to cook. It's not even like that. There's just no expectation, that she would know how.
That's a good one.
So, whereas in culture, we expect that no matter who you marry, there's a certain expectation or a certain level of cooking that you would expect. Whereas in America, that's not something that most guys would even maybe put on their list as, oh, I would expect that she knows how to do this, and this. So having that expectation, understanding that that's not even like, even if it's a desire for you, in the culture she might be coming from, that's not even something she's considering as an expectation, So I think that very practical.
I think I understand you. And you spoke about systems, that there are different systems. So you cannot say that my system is the best. There are different systems. So if you want to marry somebody from another country, then you must be open. You must have an open mind to be able to embrace different systems. But I think maybe the most important thing may be to have a conversation about these systems, even at the relationship stage.
Yeah.
So that there is agreement of thought.
Yes.
So that when the marriage gets underway, it's not like you have a culture shock. So you're assuming now I'm not married and I want to marry an American woman and she tells me, look, I don't cook. Then I make up my mind, okay, if I want to marry you, then like you said, I don't expect you to cook. So whether I am going to cook, or we're going to discuss some days you cook and I cook, fine. So we come to that conclusion and that agreement. And I think I understand you that once we can agree and we can accept it and we both feel that we can live by it, then I think it will work. My wife's brother is actually married to a white American, my wife's brother. Yes. And I know that she doesn't cook. So she cooks. I won't say she doesn't cook. She cooks. But it's not like being married to a Ghanaian baby who is cooking every single day. It's not like that. She cooks, but it's not like all the time. And so sometimes too, I know that my wife's brother also cooks. And I've known him since he was a young person. And I realized that he has had to adjust. So like you were saying, once that adjustment can take place and we can accept it, really we can move on. And sometimes when you think about it critically, all these are that sometimes they are just mental blocks, really, mental blocks. And I think that we can decide to remove some of these mental blocks, or we can decide to compromise. You move 50% this way, I also move 50% this way, so that there's commonality, there's common ground. So I think you make a very valid point. And for me, honestly, it doesn't sound threatening to me, or it's not a problem for me. As long as my mind is made up that this is what I want and this is what we are going to do, and we can agree, and we are going to follow what we agreed to do, it's not a problem at all. But you make a very interesting thought. That's why I asked about food, something very basic, because I know that for a Ghanaian person like that, you will expect that, look, I need my meals. But let me ask you a question. So what about the American woman also changing her system and adapting another system? What about that?
Yeah, it's very important, and it's something that needs to be spoken of more when we're talking about international relationships. That it's not a one-way thing, like you said just a minute ago. It's about agreement. So you need to understand the other person's system and expectations, structure, and you need to decide whether or not you can come to with them. So it's very, very important. Two of my siblings are married to people from other cultures, and I've seen them have to also adapt in ways that maybe were not natural to them, how they were brought up or how they thought about certain things, but they've adapted, and they've come into agreement with their spouses to say that, yes, I'm also changing, I'm also restructuring, I'm also coming into agreement with you in certain areas. Just you coming up to me, but it's me also meeting you. And so I think the key word is agreement. And a lot of times you don't see people taking the time to talk these things out when they're dating.
Yeah.
So that causes a lot of issues because you don't realize that you have to make certain agreements before you make the agreement, So.
Yeah. I think you made a very valid point. And somebody said Sheila is so nice. That's one of my. Just thought maybe you should hear this comment. And the question, I think somebody is saying, I think what can hinder me from marrying someone from another country is food. So let me go to my friend, Dr. May. Dr. May.
Hi.
Where are you?
Yes, I'm listening.
Let me tell you something. I've not told you this before. As a pastor, I've been to many countries. I've met many people from different cultures. I've interacted with different people. And one thing that God told me was that if you want to be an international pastor, you should have an international stomach. And he told me that the way to have an international stomach is to mentally think that any food in this world is nice. If it were not nice, human beings wouldn't eat it.
Okay.
So as long as human beings are eating it, then it's nice. And he said to me, most of the time, it's not nice because of people's mental blocks. That's what doesn't make the food nice. But once you remove the mental block and you decide to enjoy any food, it will be nice. So I made up my mind that, okay, then I'm going to enjoy the food of any country. And when I go, whatever is giving me, I'm going to eat it. So, anytime I'm in China and I'm with you and all the other lovely Chinese people, we drink all sorts of teas. I mean, we'll be walking around and you just pluck some flour, you put it in water. I said, this is tea, let's drink it. And I drink it. And strangely, now in my house, I just drink teas from different leaves. And I learned it from you. I just take a leaf, I put it in, then I start drinking it. Even this morning, I've drank 2 different leaves. I didn't used to be like that. But I realized that when I had this international stomach, I really enjoy. Anytime I'm with you in China, most people don't realize that. Sometimes people think that Chinese food is the one that we eat in the restaurants. But I realize that Chinese food is very varied and it changes from region to region. And each region has its own unique food. And sometimes when I'm with you in China, some of the foods I eat I've never seen before. I've never experienced before. But I just open my mind, I eat it, I drink anything, and it's been real nice. I've enjoyed it. Now, my question to you is, what will you say to somebody who wanted to marry a Chinese woman and is a Ghanaian? What should be his attitude towards food in terms of if he's supposed to connect with a Chinese woman? What should be the person's expectation when it comes to food? Because people are listening, they don't know Chinese women. They don't know any Chinese women. So okay, I want to marry a Chinese woman. What should they expect when it comes to food?
Well, I think it's you remember the time I said to you, there is a restaurant which is named Spicy to Scream. So
in my
area,
I remember that.
If you can eat spicy food, like you drinking tea and using chopsticks.
you taught me how to use chopsticks. And so now
yeah.
everywhere I go, they bring chopsticks. I use it. I used to even eat groundnuts and everything. I'm good at it. So they said, where do you learn it? I said, my friend, Dr. May.
I thought you already learned it before I met you because you can use it the first time when we were at the
No,
dinner
that was
table.
the first time. That was the first time.
Wow, but you are very Chinese now.
I am. You've made me Chinese. I just have to change my color and that's it. I'm there.
Well, I think Chinese women like cooking every day.
Oh, really?
But, yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know Chinese
Yes.
women like cooking every day.
Yes, and they expect
Okay.
their husband also to share the business a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the northern part of China, mostly women cook. The men don't cook.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes. If you want to marry a Chinese woman, I mean, suppose in the
Okay.
north, you don't have to cook.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but emotionally, I think that the Chinese people are women not so independent like what Sheila said about Americans. I think, yeah, like Sarah, I think she would prefer, to be more communicative, or sometimes, maybe men to be more supportive. Because many Chinese women like security and harmony. We don't want to have very severe conflicts. Perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we want to be peacemakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And indirect ways of expression.
I see.
Indirect ways of expression. If you want to express your love, don't say it in a scientific way or a very direct way. You have to learn to beat around the bush a little bit for some time before you come to the point.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So, assuming somebody meets a Chinese woman, what does love mean to a Chinese woman? What does the person have to do to show that I love you in Chinese culture? What's the expectation?
In Chinese culture, I think first of all is last night I discussed with Sarah. We both agreed that first of all is dedication. Dedication, that is to say.
Okay, dedication.
Yeah, sacrifice.
Okay.
If you love someone, you always want to
sacrifice.
To be dedicated emotionally and always thinking about that person's good benefits and try to do something for that person.
I see.
Okay, for example, like a husband sharing the housework. Yeah, many Chinese women. And again, I think for some, particularly, they value their wedding, maybe wedding anniversaries, but not the general Chinese woman. If you buy them a lot of flowers, roses, but you don't do practical things to show your love, they will say, this guy is fake. Maybe he doesn't love me. I just want to pretend and he's having an affair. When you're having an affair, you want to just appease. I want to make peace with me, and so that you can be free.
I see. All right. Let me ask Sarah a question. Sarah, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm here.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. So, assuming that somebody who is a Ghanaian, a black, wants to marry you,
Mm-hmm.
what
Mm-hmm.
will be your expectation of a husband?
Oh.
What will you expect from a husband?
Oh, my expectation of a husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe my expectation maybe might not so high, but anyway, he should be, how to say, yeah, responsible. I think responsible.
Responsible.
Yeah, shoulder he can shoulder the responsibility instead of shirking the responsibility. He should love me, not only in not only we have similar interest. I think it's very important. We should have similar interest. And the second one, we have similar hobbies. We have got a lot to say. He can comfort me. He can accompany me. He can maybe help me do something. Maybe
Right.
take care of the family members and help me support my career, because I'm a career woman.
Nice.
So I think he can help me, not only emotionally, not only but also real life.
Okay.
He do something. I hope he can.
What about does the person have to be romantic? When I say romantic, what comes to your mind?
Romantic. Yeah, every woman like romantic, right?
So,
Yeah.
what's the expectation of romantic? When you say romantic for a Chinese woman, what does it mean? May said it's not just bringing flowers; it's helping. So, can you tell me something else about romantic? What does it mean?
So romantic, in my opinion, mean maybe not only he can send me flowers, roses on my birthday, on our some important days for all of us, but also he can every when I am tired and after work, he can say the comfortable words to me. I think this is romantic. When I'm tired after work, I can say, "Oh, you work so hard. I hope you can relax. I hope you can do some sports." Yeah, maybe he can accompany me to play badminton, because as far as I'm concerned, I like playing badminton. I like playing ping pong. So he will say, "Oh, you work so hard. Shall we go for a walk? Go for a climbing the Yuelu mountain?" Yeah, he can take care of my emotion, and he can send comfortable words to me. I think this is romantic.
Romantic.
Yeah.
Nice. You might remember once I was in China, and I think we went for lunch. And after the lunch, Dr. May said we should go climb a mountain. And we went up this mountain, tall mountain. Do you remember, May?
Spiritually.
Do you remember that
I can't remember particularly.
You can't? Well, I remember it very well. We climbed this mountain, so many people up there. We got to the top. Took us about 45 minutes or an hour, and then we had to walk down again. And then
the Yuelu Mountain. Yuelu Mountain is a famous scenic spot. We often take our tourists there.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It was nice. Anyway, let me get to Samuel. I'm closing now. I'm about closing now. Samuel, are you there?
I'm there, Prophet. I'm here.
I want you to ask these ladies we are chatting with a question that Samuel wants to ask. I mean, you can ask Sarah, you can ask Sheila, you can ask May, but I've been asking all the questions. Is there a question you would like to ask them?
Wow. Okay, so I think I'd like to ask Dr. May a question first. Okay, I think I'll throw the same question to both Dr. May and Sarah.
Okay.
So say you are dating a black guy and you realize he's very demanding. He's very, very demanding. How would you see him? What's your take on that? When
you say demanding, what do you mean? Demanding okay. What? Money?
No, not money. I mean, demanding in terms of things he wants you to do for him. Like, so for instance, he wants you to probably always cook for him. He wants you to say, even when he sees you are tired, I mean, he wants you to maybe, I mean, he always wants to have his way. Like, he wants to go and do this. He wants to go out at this time. Probably you are tired, or you don't want to do this, or you have something else you want to do. But it's like he's trying to impose what he wants to do on you. I mean, demanding in those kind of ways. I mean, how do you think you would take that?
Well, I think for traditional Chinese women, I think we value sacrifice. So if our husbands want us to do something, we will try to please him. Yeah, and try to say, well, if he's very tired, I better, wash his clothes, and cook some food, make a cup of tea, do things even when you're not in a liking. But for modern women nowadays in China, many of them think that they should be respected. If you try to impose a will upon them, they will say, "Oh, marriage is of no use." I feel such a great difficulty, so challenging. So they quickly break up. So nowadays, I think modern women towards an American independence. Maybe it's because of the international influence, because many Chinese more open to American culture. But so far as I have understand about Ghanaian blacks, I think maybe they are more adventurous than general women in China. But not, but perhaps except Sarah. Sarah is very outgoing.
Sarah.
A lot of people like Sarah.
All right, Sarah, let's hear your view on that.
As a matter of fact, I'm not as outgoing as May said.
Oh, really? I think you are.
As a matter of fact, I was brought up in China. So many views. Many of my views are very traditional, So I think Chinese culture.
I see.
For your question, is if the man is so high demanding, we are not very happy. As a matter of fact, if a man just ask me to do there, to do this and to do that, to do here and to do that, cook all the time, and work all the time, I'm not very comfortable. I hope the relationship between the husband and the wife should be a sharing culture. For you, have a work outside. I have a work outside. So, and when we come back home, you should share the housework with me. if you don't share the housework with me, I will think you are lazy. Yeah, I think you should. Your responsibility is to share the housework with me, because I make money, you make money, right? I am tired after coming back home. So are you. So it's not somebody's own business. It's a sharing culture, I think. The family, the husband and wife share everything. Yeah, not only housework, but also sharing salary. Yeah, right, to support the whole family.
So, Prophet, can I ask
Beautiful. Thank you.
that? Oh.
Yeah, it's left with Sheila will now respond to your question.
Okay. So Sheila, I think I have a different question for you.
Okay.
I've always wanted to find out why the divorce rate or breakup rate in America is so high. Because you feel you see that, like you said, Americans, if I'm to put it, are more like extroverts. They are always out there. They show love, because you see people on the streets, doing their thing, kissing here and there, all that kind of thing. But it's like, I don't know, they don't seem to be able to sustain their relationships for a longer period, be it whether they are dating or they are married. What would you say is the cause of that mainly? What would you say is the cause of that?
Well, I think it's hard to pinpoint one particular cause. I think what we're seeing in America is a lot of secularization coming into the culture and the church as an overall. We're seeing the culture move in a very specific direction. And the more the culture moves away from the things of God, we're going to see the things of God become less and less taken as something that's serious. But I do think that we are a culture that really values, I said this earlier, we really value feelings, and we really feel validated in our feelings rather than in what we would consider, we're kind of throwing off moral responsibility for the sake of being validated in our feelings. And I think that a lot of people place affection, such as, like you said, like we're very affectionate, we're very open, we say what we want, we live how want. We don't mind showing affection in public or different things like that, but we have placed that on a higher value than covenant. And I think we don't really value covenant, don't even understand what covenant is. And that is definitely contributing to, if you don't see something as valuable, if you don't see covenant as something that is to be held or to be valued, then it's more just like going in and out for the sake of how I feel or how I feel validated in this relationship, or, being a huge thing is, being accepted for who I am. If you don't accept me for who I am, then you don't love me, if you don't come alongside me in that way. So it's very easy for us to kind of like the culture to break that away. And then that's the model that children are growing up in, and they're seeing that. So it's no surprise that when they get into that opportunity, they're going to make the same decisions, So that's the little that I say.
Wow.
Thank you very much. I think, that's Sheila, I think that's very insightful. I must say that I've learned a lot of things today. And what you just said about feelings, really, it's to me, it's a revelation. And it's given me an understanding of many things. And but before we go, somebody says that Sarah. Somebody says that I'm considering marrying a Chinese person now. What's the rate of divorce in China?
Sarah, are you there? Well, I think
yeah, Dr. May, maybe you can answer that.
She's there.
Okay, Sarah.
So just now I drink some water. So what's your question? I beg your pardon.
He said that one of the listeners says he's not considering marrying a Chinese lady, a Chinese girl. but he would like to know the rate of divorce in China. He doesn't know what it is.
Chinese divorce?
Yeah,
Divorce
somebody
rate.
says that. Somebody says he's considering marrying a Chinese. What is the divorce rate in China? The rate of divorce.
Oh, I got your question. The divorce rate in China, maybe in the developed cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, the divorce rate is a little bit higher. Yeah, the more developed cities, the higher divorce rate is. You know.
I see. So is it about 20%, 30%, 15%, 50%? Where will you put it?
50.
50.
40
Yeah.
to 50. Yeah.
Wow,
40 to
that's
50
high.
Beijing. Very high.
50%.
Recently,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, I see. May, let me finish with you. How do Chinese people somebody said, how do various countries, in this case China and America, typically view submission? What is the view of submission when it comes to, somebody says, in China and America? So maybe you will answer this question, and then Sheila will answer. And this is the last question. How do various countries, in this case China and America, typically view submission? That is, traditionally it's like women are even the Bible says the women should submit to their husbands. Now, typically, how do the Chinese women view submission?
I think traditionally Chinese women value submission, and actually is one of the qualities of a good woman, of our society. Like they want they want women to be very humble and very capable doing housework, not being too much outgoing, to be able to be docile and raise the children. We have some typical films, very typical films. Picture a woman being very sacrificial, and very open-minded, and I think broad-minded in raising the children and understanding. Even when the husband even having an affair, or when the husband is having taking a concubine in the traditional society, they think that it's their responsibility to love everybody and be the one to sustain the generations. I think they are very sacrificial. Yeah. But modern women in China, they value independence. They think, why do I have to sacrifice my own happiness and become having somebody impose his will upon mine? I should learn to be independent, earn my own money, having my own job, because there is modern Chinese saying, women and men hold half of the sky. Women hold half of the sky. You see? So we have to learn to be independent and cooperate in a relationship. I don't have to be too much submissive. And as a matter of fact, when I was a young lady, I hated this. There is a Bible verse, and women should be submissive, and husband is the head of the family. And because of that, I think it's nonsense. The biblical view is nonsense. I used to think so, but not long after I married, I found that if I'm going to take care of the family as a leader, I found too much responsibility. I better push my husband a bit forward, and he became my leader now. Yeah. Do I answer your question? I hope so.
Yes, that's a very cute answer. Okay, so Sarah, maybe you give us the final thoughts. How do Americans view submission? Hey, Sheila, you have the final thoughts.
Okay.
Sheila, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So I think our society as a whole does not value submission, especially female to male. It's not something that is a very popular word in any kind of relation in the US. So it's not something that people would even go into marriage really considering or thinking about. Obviously, like, I have a very different view. I think submission is good, necessary, but I'm talking society as a whole does not really, value that word or that thought. It's not something that's very popular.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you're a Christian, so you have your own Christian values. So your personal views are different from a general view that you will give, because I know you're a Christian as well. So when it comes to the issue of submission, in the church, now I've come to the church. How is this seen in the church?
The church in the US?
Yes, in the American church. The same issue. We've got the world and we've got a church. How does the US church in general, not you, the US church in general, what is its view?
So I think that in very traditional churches in the US, especially in locations like maybe the Deep South, where there's a strong pull towards, Baptist denominations or different things, they're always going to teach and hold to a very strong view of submission and what that means. And people are going to accept it, whether they maybe necessarily believe it or not, out of being in that religious environment, it's going to be much more accepted. But I think in the mainstream church, we're seeing there's such a pushback from culture on submission, and then, even culture using the way that submission has been mishandled by the church, where you have tragic situations where in the name of submission, there's been abuse or rape, or just other horrible things. So because culture has come in such a strong way, and because in America, there's such a value for equality of gender, equality, all around, financial equality, different things like that. I think the mainstream church is trying to find tactful or diplomatic ways of still holding to a doctrine that is fundamental to the Bible, because the Bible says submit, one to another, and that wives are supposed to their husbands, but finding more tactful ways of saying that without it being an offense to the mainstream culture.
I see. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sheila. Thank you very much, May. Thank you very much, Sarah. And thank you very much, Samuel. It's been an interesting discussion. I want you to know that I've learned a lot, really. You really opened up my mind to various things which I did not know. And some were small details, but they were very revelatory. And talking to you from different cultures, countries, background, perspectives, I think we've really educated ourselves. And I know that those who are watching and those who will watch after will also be really educated. And before we end, I would like to say that my panelists are all Christians, and some of the things that they said does not necessarily mean that's their personal position. It's a discussion on, it's been a discussion on culture, generally, on the average, and what people think and how people respond or react to things. And I want to thank you so much for joining me. I want to thank all our audience for joining me tonight. I think it's been wonderful. And thank you so much for joining me. And I would like to say to all those who want to ask more questions, or even ask our panelists more questions, you can post your messages or whatever on my page, and I will make sure they get it. Because there are people who have sent in more questions, but unfortunately, time will not allow me. So whatever you want to say to them, please just send me a message, and I'll make sure they get it. So God bless you. Thank you so much for joining me from China and from Ghana and from different cultures. It's been an awesome time. We've all been educated, and God bless you so much. To those who are watching, I'd like to say bye-bye. God bless you. Thank you so much. Next Monday night, I'll be on Twitter Spaces, and I'll be talking about something different. So catch me on Twitter Spaces next Monday night. So God bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord bless you. May the grace of the Lord be with you all. Bye-bye. I will see you again next time. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye, Sheila. Bye-bye,
Bye.
Samuel.
Bye.
Welcome to China, Samuel.
Mate.